Okay. Hi, my name is Heather Alexis, and I am the director and editor of No Strings Attached, which is coming out May 30th, 2025. Let me introduce my guest, Bao, or should I say Bao's stunt double. Bao is busy promoting his film in Cannes right now and couldn't be here, so we accepted a stunt double on his behalf. This is like the third time I've tried to film this video, so we're gonna just jump right into the questions. I guess a little backstory as to why I made the film. This film was my master's thesis for when I studied at NYU Gallatin School of Individualized Study, which is a fancy way of saying it's the build your own major school. I was interested in studying the relationship between psychology and film and how they interact with each other. And so No Strings Attached is my version of representing mental health on screen. And it's based on my personal story with mental health as well as my incorporation of the research during my time at the master's program. I studied both psychology techniques and filmmaking techniques and tried to find ways to marry the two into one single medium, and this film is my representation of how to do that. There's never going to be a perfect way to tell a story about mental health because it's such an individual experience. And because of that, filmmakers have to be aware of how they're representing mental health on screen. And things to think about would be, is my portrayal contributing or helping combat the stigma of mental health? For me, I relied heavily on using aesthetic distancing, which is a technique where you use creativity and fantasy to distance yourself from the serious topic. And so that kind of leads us into the first question as to why balloons. I wanted to use something that was a tangible object to kind of represent the mental health aspect of the story, but something that could be silly and light because it's a balloon, that would help kind of guide us through the story, and we would be able to attach the mental health message to an actual tangible object. What was it like working with balloons? Don't do it. Working with a balloon outside in the wind on a cliff is not a fun time. I wouldn't recommend doing it, though a lot of my films have balloons in them, so I keep doing it. So I guess it works. What was one thing that you liked about filming on location versus in a studio? Well, filming on location was really fun. We got to travel between New York and Connecticut to shoot the scenes. Being able to film in my hometown for some of the pivotal scenes was really important to me, and that was really fun, being able to bring my friends and have such a small crew and be able to just kind of show them around my town and film. I liked working in a studio because we got to really experiment with a bunch of the lights. We got to really play with building an abyss, which was an incredible experience, and I think it turned out really cool, so I'm excited to share those scenes. How many cameras did you use? We used one camera. We had a Sony A7 III, I believe, and we just shot on that. My favorite shot that we got in the entire film was the waltz sequence in the green field. That was such a fun experience because we choreographed a dance scene between a person and a balloon, and then both camera and sound and director were basically dancing around each other, trying to pull the balloons out to transition into a different color balloon, and that was just a very fun scene that I'm excited to share with you guys. Is there anything you could change? What would it be? I'm gonna go with the cheesy answer of no, I wouldn't change anything because I feel like I learned a lot. This was the first big film I was able to make. I didn't get the chance to really make a proper film in my undergrad because of COVID, and this was definitely the largest scale production that I made. We had so many people on location, specifically in New York, and we wouldn't have been able to do it without everybody's help and all of the PAs, but this was definitely a huge learning experience for me coming in as an early stage director and working with that many people on, I believe we had 8 different locations, and just really seeing it come together and working through post with animation and VFX. It was just a really fun experience. So I wouldn't change anything because I think I learned a lot and I've grown as a creative since then. Will there be a sequel? No. I'm done. I don't want to work with balloons. I see them on the street and I go into fight or flight mode. Absolutely not. There will be more films to come. There's some in the works right now, which is really exciting. A lot of the stories I want to tell do have to do with mental health, which is why I'm pursuing a PhD in psychology and film. So definitely expect more along those lines, but I'd like to do some fun ones as well. I would love to do a musical. I'd like to make some music videos, and I'd like to do some micro shorts just to kind of get those under my belt too. What films inspired or influenced my film? This is a great question because I was having such a hard time finishing the script because I felt like I hadn't quite learned the lessons that I needed to in order to finish the script. A lot of the story has to do with our main character Faith trying to get through these trials, and in order to escape the balloon trial, she needs to learn the lesson to move on to the next one. And as a writer and as a person, I just didn't feel like I learned the lessons yet. And so my friend took me to see Everything Everywhere All at Once, and it just kind of clicked for me after seeing that movie, because in order to move through that film, you're jumping through different timelines, you're jumping through different trials, and you don't finish all of them. And that was key for me to learn because it really helped me lean into the experimental aspect of the editing style, and that helped me work on a shot list and decide that we're going to use match cuts to try and get us out of scenes. We might have scenes that don't necessarily finish because our character jumps out of them before they're done. And seeing that film heavily inspired me and allowed me to finish writing the script. If you could take a wild guess throughout the movie how many balloons we used, what would it be? I don't think I want to know how much money I spent on balloons for this film, to be honest. I think all of my vivid memories on this set were of me and one of my lovely crew members helping me carry helium tanks and packets of balloons back and forth between Party City and where we were shooting. So truly, I don't want to know. Where is Bal now? Well, as we have discussed, Bal is currently in Cannes, networking and promoting his next film. I hope he stays far away and lives his life. How many stunt doubles did Bal have? A lot. No balloons were harmed fully in the making of this film, but a few balloons gave very noble sacrifices for the sake of a match cut. How did you name Bal? I think once I settled on balloons, which was like the earliest iteration of this film, was just a single balloon, and I needed a name for it, and for the longest time it was just kind of the balloon, and I was like, no, he deserves a name. And when I was coming up with the character description for him, it kind of just clicked, because I was like, well, he's like your pal, Bal is like your pal, and it kind of just happened from there. Why Faith? We never reveal our main character's name throughout the film. It's just kind of there. Like, there's one scene in the apartment where we have a pillow that says Faith, and that's kind of like your hint at what her name is. But it's got nothing to do with religion or spiritual beliefs or any of that. Whenever I'm writing a film about mental health, the main character's name is usually Faith, because I need her to have a reminder that, like, have faith that you're gonna get through this, and have faith that it's gonna suck, but it will work out, even if it's not how you expected it to. So have the faith to just keep going forward, and that's kind of why her name is Faith. What was one of the hardest scenes to film? God, there were so many. I think one of the hardest ones to film was the cliff, because for the safety of our crew, we needed to make sure that we weren't filming on a proper drop-off cliff, but trying to give the illusion of being like right on a cliff's edge while working with a balloon in the wind on the ocean, and having a very specific amount of sunlight for the sunset moment. That was like a very hard scene, and I'm really glad that we got it, because we had a very short window of time to get the exact lighting that we needed and get the exact balloon reactions. Working with Sylvie was very easy for those scenes, because Sylvie just was on it, got it, and was able to just get us through the scenes. And working with Alicia to DP, she just knew what she was doing and was able to get the shots, get the angles, move us where we needed to, get the coverage, and I think we made it work. What inspired the film? A lot of things inspired it. I think a lot of it was coming from personal experience. Obviously, it's a story about mental health, so I'm gonna draw my own experiences, but I do think it was influenced by a lot of the research that I did kind of woven in, and I think I was able to make the story more than just a retelling and make the story one that hopefully can resonate with everybody. What are you most proud of with the movie and its message? Ooh, good question. I'm really proud that we did it. I'm really excited to finally let it go and let it out into the world and see what people think. I think the message of the film is that it's hard. It is tough, and there are days where it just feels like you are absolutely weighed down by the balloons in your life and you just want everything to stop, and you just can't stop, and you have to keep going, and it's hard. I think it's hard to put a message on the film because I want everyone to be able to take away from it what resonates with them. Part of the reason I picked balloons was because I wanted to keep the scenes as ambiguous as I could about what they were about. Because I wanted the viewer to be able to put onto the balloon what they were feeling and their own experiences, and I didn't want it to be so cut and dry where it was, this is something that happened to me and only me. I wanted it to be a broad enough experience where you could feel the emotions, but anyone watching could put their own spin on what was going on. And so I think the message of the film is super dependent on what you want to take away from it, and I hope that everybody can watch the film and take away something for themselves. And I hope that what they take away is related to having the courage and the faith that things are going to be okay. They have to be. Those were all the general questions. I'm gonna do some other Q&As about some specific scenes and some post stuff, so stick around. Bye!